Nicky Wagner.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I too am delighted to support this bill, and I agree with the Honourable Ruth Dyson that it will be a most interesting bill for the Health Select Committee to consider. As we've already heard, this amendment bill does three things. It clarifies uncertainties in the existing Human-Assisted Reproductive Technology Act of 2004, and it will deal with the issue that right now some fertility clinics are unintentionally breaking the law regarding the storage of gametes and embryos. It also clarifies the role of the Ethics Council and advisory committees about decisions around the storage periods for gametes and embryos. IVF, or in vitro fertilisation, has been available in New Zealand for over 3 decades. It's got its name, meaning fertilisation within glass, because early biological experiments that cultivated tissues outside living organisms were carried out in glass containers. They used beakers, test tubes and petri dishes. And of course we still talk of test tube babies, but actually in vitro fertilisation is done in the much shallower petri dishes.
Doesn't have the same rainbow, does it?
New Zealand has a low fertility rate. In comparison to the highest world rates, places like Niger and Afghanistan, where women have over 7 children each, in New Zealand our rate is less than 2. And our mothers are getting older. The median age of women giving birth is 30 years, which means half of all women who give birth are aged over 30. And the birth rates for New Zealand women aged over 30 have been increasing over the last 10 years. The median age of women giving birth to their first child is 28 years old, and the average number of births in women is decreasing. 40 years ago, in 1971, it was just over 3. Today, it is under 2. About 15 in 100 couples in New Zealand have difficulty conceiving a child, and about 5 in 100 couples have in vitro fertilisation IVF treatment. 1 in 100 babies is a successful IVF or test tube baby. And that's about 900 IVF babies are born in New Zealand each year. With older parents and lowered sperm counts in New Zealand men, the demand for IVF in New Zealand is growing. The British Medical Journal suggests that infertility rates could double in the next decade simply due to poor health lifestyle choices. Many couples are finding that having a child is more difficult than chucking out the contraceptives and dimming the lights. So it's important that this legislation around the process, and in this case the storage of gametes and embryos, is clear. So I fully support this amendment bill.
David Shearer.
Mr Speaker, thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this bill. The first reading, the Labor Part of the Opposition supports the introduction of this bill to its first reading and recommends it to the committee, the Select Committee. The purpose of this bill, Mr Speaker, is to amend several aspects of the Human-Assisted Reproductive Technology Act of 2004, a fairly recent act, but something that I think is necessary given the advances both in science and as we move forward into the future. And my colleague across the House was speaking of the need or the demand for increased numbers, the increased